God says, your waiting season is officially over. This is a motivational phrase. This is not emotional encouragement. This is an announcement from heaven, and it carries urgency. A miracle is scheduled for tonight. Don't skip this message. Open immediately before 11:57 p.m. There are moments in life when everything shifts without warning. There are divine appointments written into your story long before you ever felt the weight of delay. Tonight is one of those moments. If you have been waiting, praying, crying in silence, wondering why nothing seemed to move, this word is for you. God is declaring that the season of standing still has reached its expiration date. A waiting season is not just about time passing. It is about pressure. It is about unanswered prayers echoing in the quiet. It is about watching others move forward while you feel paused. It is about holding faith when logic tells you to give up. You have endured nights when you question whether heaven heard you. You have smiled in public while fighting private battles. You have whispered prayers that only God could hear. And through it all, you remained. That is why this announcement is so powerful. Because heaven does not ignore endurance. God does not overlook tears. He records them. He honors them. And when the appointed time arrives, He moves suddenly. There is a reason the message says to open this before 11:57 p.m. It represents the final minutes before a new hour begins. It is symbolic of the last stretch of delay before breakthrough. You are not at the beginning anymore. You are not even in the middle. You are in the final countdown of a season that tried to define you. And God is saying it will not define you anymore. The waiting season has served its purpose. It refined you. It strengthened you. It exposed what needed to be healed. It aligned you with the right people and separated you from the wrong ones. But now it is officially over. What makes tonight different? Why now? Because heaven operates on appointed times, not human timelines. There are moments that are scheduled in the spirit realm long before they manifest in the physical world. You may have felt stuck, but behind the scenes, things were moving. Conversations you could not hear were happening. Doors you could not see were being unlocked. Resistance that tried to block you was being dismantled. God does not rush preparation. But when preparation meets divine timing, miracles accelerate. This message carries urgency because hesitation has been your greatest struggle. You have been hesitant to hope again, hesitant to believe fully, hesitant to trust that things can change overnight. But God is interrupting your hesitation. He is interrupting the narrative that says, maybe next year, or maybe someday. Tonight is not random. Tonight is intentional. The phrase "a miracle is scheduled" means this is not accidental. It is assigned. It is deliberate. It is orchestrated. And here is the shocking truth. The intensity of your waiting was proof of the magnitude of what is coming. The longer the delay, the greater the preparation. The deeper the silence, the louder the breakthrough will be. You thought the waiting meant denial. But in heaven's language, waiting often means alignment. It means details are being arranged with precision. It means your blessing required specific timing to protect you, to position you, to maximize impact. If you feel a stirring in your spirit right now, that is not coincidence. If something inside you says this is for me, that is confirmation. You did not find this message by accident. You were led here. And the instruction is clear. Open immediately before 11:57 p.m. Why? Because obedience activates alignment. When God gives an instruction tied to timing, it is not superstition. It is synchronization. It is about your heart being ready at the exact moment heaven releases what has your name on it. For too long, you have defined yourself by what has not happened yet. You have measured your life by delays, by closed doors, by postponed dreams. But tonight marks a turning point. This is the moment where waiting transitions into witnessing, when hoping transitions into holding, when praying transitions into praising because the answer has arrived. The urgency in this message is love, not pressure. God does not rush you to harm you. He calls you to position you. And positioning matters when miracles are released. There are rare moments when heaven leans in close and whispers, "Prepare yourself. It is time." This is one of those whispers. This is one of those nights. Imagine waking up tomorrow no longer in the season that has weighed you down. Imagine looking back at this exact moment and realizing it with a hinge point. The final chapter of delay. The official ending of your waiting season. What if this is the night everything changes? What if the breakthrough you prayed for is not months away but hours away? What if 11:57 p.m. is not just a time on a clock, but the line between your old season and your new one? God says your waiting season is officially over. Not almost over. Not ending soon. Over. And when God closes a season, no force can reopen it. When He declares a shift, no delay can override it. Tonight carries weight. Tonight carries movement. Tonight carries a miracle with your name on it. Before the miracle manifests, you must understand something that will change how you see your past. The delay was not punishment. It was preparation. It was not rejection. It was refinement. When God says your waiting season is officially over, that means the waiting had a divine assignment. It had a purpose you could not see while you were inside it. There were parts of you that needed strengthening. There were wounds that needed healing. There were attachments that needed breaking. If the blessing had arrived too early, it might have crushed you instead of crowned you. God does not release miracles into hands that are not ready to hold them. So the delay became your training ground. The silence became your classroom. The uncertainty became your spiritual gym where faith was stretched beyond comfort. Think about the moments you almost gave up. The prayers that felt unanswered. The opportunities that slipped through your fingers. At the time, it felt unfair. It felt confusing. But heaven saw a bigger picture. God saw what was ahead. He saw the weight of the blessing. He saw the responsibility attached to it. And He chose to prepare you instead of pleasing you temporarily. There is a pattern throughout history. Before elevation comes isolation. Before promotion comes testing. Before the spotlight comes the hidden season. You were hidden because you were being developed. You were delayed because you were being aligned. There were conversations happening behind closed doors that you could not hear. There were divine rearrangements taking place in the spiritual realm. People were being moved out of your path. Others were being positioned to meet you at the right time. You thought nothing was happening, but everything was happening. Sometimes God delays the answer because the environment is not ready yet. Sometimes He delays it because the timing must intersect with someone else's obedience. And sometimes He delays it because your character needed to grow into the capacity required for what you asked for. You prayed for expansion. But expansion without foundation leads to collapse. So God built your foundation first. The waiting season also exposed what was truly in your heart. It revealed whether you wanted the blessing more than you wanted God. It revealed whether your faith was conditional or committed. In the silence, you discovered who you really were. In the uncertainty, your dependence on God deepened. You learned how to trust without evidence. You learned how to stand without applause. You learned how to keep going when nobody clapped for your endurance. That is not wasted time. That is sacred preparation. And here is something powerful. The intensity of the delay often mirrors the size of the destiny. The longer you were kept waiting, the greater the alignment required. The heavier the resistance, the more significant the assignment. The delay was confirmation that what is coming carries weight. Ordinary blessings do not require extraordinary preparation. Maybe you felt overlooked while others moved ahead. Maybe you question why doors opened for them but not for you. But comparison blinds you to customization. God does not copy and paste destinies. He designs them individually. Your path required precise timing. Your story required specific chapters. And tonight, the chapter of delay is closing because the preparation phase is complete. Now pause for a moment and reflect. You are not the same person you were when this waiting season began. You are stronger, wiser, more discerning, more prayerful, more resilient. If the miracle had come earlier, you might not have appreciated it. You might not have protected it. But now you are ready. This is why you cannot resent the delay. You must recognize it as part of the miracle. Because without the waiting, you would not be who you are right now. And who you are right now is exactly who you need to be for what is scheduled tonight. If this message is confirming what your spirit has been sensing, I want you to respond in faith. Like this video as a declaration that your delay had purpose. Subscribe to this channel so you don't miss the prophetic confirmations connected to your new season. Share this message with someone who feels stuck in their waiting because they need to hear that preparation is not abandonment. And in the comments, type "I receive" as an act of agreement with what God is doing in your life. There is power in agreement. There is power in publicly declaring that you trust the process. When you engage, you are not just interacting with content, you are aligning yourself with a word that has been spoken. The delay had to happen because you were being shaped for something that requires maturity. And now that the shaping is complete, the release can begin. You were not forgotten. You were formed. You were not ignored. You were instructed. You were not denied. You were developed. And tonight, development gives way to delivery. There is a reason this message carries a timestamp. There is a reason the instruction says to open immediately before 11:57 p.m. In the natural, it looks like just another minute on the clock. But in the spiritual realm, timing is never random. God works with appointed moments. He moves in divine windows. And 11:57 p.m. represents something deeper than numbers. It represents the final stretch before a shift. Think about what 11:57 p.m. actually is. It is 3 minutes before midnight. 3 minutes before a new day begins. 3 minutes before one calendar page turns into another. It is the space between what was and what is about to be. It is the thin line between an old hour and a new one. And spiritually, that is exactly where you are standing right now. You are not fully in the old season anymore. But you have not yet stepped into the new one. You are in the final minutes of transition. The prophetic meaning of this moment is powerful. 11 often represents disorder or incompleteness, something that has not yet reached fullness. But when it approaches 12, which symbolizes divine government and completion, it signals that order is about to be restored. So 11:57 p.m. becomes a symbol of incompleteness approaching completion, delay approaching fulfillment, waiting approaching manifestation. You have been living in the 11 season, where things felt unfinished, unsettled, unresolved. But heaven is announcing that you are moving into your 12 moment, where what God has ordained comes into alignment. The miracle scheduled for tonight is not chaotic. It is governed. It is not accidental. It is orchestrated. There is also significance in the countdown itself. When a major launch happens, there is always a countdown. When a rocket prepares to lift off, the final seconds matter. No one ignores the last moments before ignition. In the same way, 11:57 p.m. is heaven's countdown in your life. It is not about superstition. It is about synchronization. It is about positioning your heart in expectation during the final seconds before spiritual ignition. Have you noticed how the tension increases right before breakthrough? How the pressure feels heavier just before something shifts? That is not coincidence. That is contraction before birth. When something new is about to be delivered, intensity rises, and many people misinterpret that intensity as a sign to quit. But it is actually a sign that you are close. The enemy often tries hardest in the final moments. Doubt becomes louder. Fatigue feels stronger. Distractions multiply. Why? Because if you can be pulled away at 11:57, you might miss the significance of midnight. But this message is your alert. It is your wake-up call. It is heaven whispering, do not drift now. You are too close. Opening this message before 11:57 p.m. is a prophetic act of agreement. It is you saying, God, I am attentive. I am expectant. I am aligned. When Naaman was told to dip 7 times in the river, the miracle was connected to obedience and completion. When walls fell in ancient battles, it was after the final lap around the city. The last step matters. The final minute matters. You may not physically see something dramatic at 11:57 p.m. The miracle might begin in the unseen realm before it appears in the visible. But spiritual shifts often precede physical evidence. A decision can be made about you in a boardroom you have never entered. A phone call can be scheduled without your knowledge. A heart can soften toward you without you being aware. Heaven can release instructions to angels concerning you in a single moment. This is why the instruction is urgent. Because when God announces a scheduled miracle, it means something has reached maturity in the Spirit. Seeds you planted with tears have grown underground. Prayers you whispered months ago have reached their appointed time. The delay you endured has met its expiration. And here is the part you must not miss. 11:57 p.m. is not just about a clock. It is about your awareness. It is about stepping into divine timing with consciousness instead of carelessness. It is about recognizing that you are not forgotten in the crowd. You are being addressed specifically. This word found you because your season has shifted. In these final minutes before your new hour, choose expectation over fear. Choose faith over doubt. Choose alignment over distraction. The prophetic clock is not ticking to create anxiety. It is ticking to announce arrival. Something that hath been pending is about to be processed. Something that hath been delayed is about to be delivered. And as you prepare your heart for this divine crossover, understand this: what happens at midnight is only the beginning of what unfolds after. The shift at 11:57 p.m. is the doorway, not the destination. What follows may exceed what you imagined. Hold on. What comes next changes everything. And now, I want you to participate in this prophetic act. Type "My waiting is over" in the comments if this resonates with you. Blessing code 411 is now activated. As you declare it, you are not typing empty words. You are sealing agreement with heaven's timeline over your life. You'll be glad you positioned yourself for this moment, because the next part of this message reveals what has been fighting so hard to delay you, and why it had to fail. The same urgency that surrounds this 11:57 p.m. moment is the same urgency behind this mission. When you sow into this channel through Super Thanks, membership, or PayPal, the links are in the description, and the PayPal QR code may be flashing on your screen. You are not giving to a platform. You are releasing oil into a lamp that carries light to thousands who are standing at their own 11:57 p.m. Scripture declares, "Give, and it will be given to you, pressed down, shaken together, and running over." And this is not history. It is God speaking directly to you now. When you respond, you become part of someone else's scheduled miracle. I feel led to say this clearly. Your seed tonight can be the spark that keeps this prophetic word reaching the one who almost gave up. Do not hesitate when heaven invites you to act. As you sow, may open heavens respond over your household, and may the same God who ends waiting seasons accelerate answers in your life. Step into obedience and give as the Spirit leads. Activate your harvest now. Before a door of significance opens, resistance often intensifies. That is not coincidence. That is confirmation. The reason your waiting season felt heavy is because there was a battle attached to your breakthrough. What is ordinary is rarely opposed. What is small is rarely resisted. But what carries destiny achieves warfare. And whether you realized it or not, there has been a battle surrounding your name. Have you noticed how, as you got closer to this moment, things seemed to grow more complicated? Misunderstandings increased. Finances tightened. Relationships were strained. Opportunities almost opened, then suddenly closed. It felt like one step forward and two steps back. That was not random misfortune. That was resistance trying to wear you down before your appointed time arrived. There are battles you can see, and there are battles you cannot. The visible battles look like arguments, delays, rejection emails, unexpected bills, health scares, and emotional exhaustion. But behind those visible moments, there are invisible dynamics at work. When something valuable is about to be released into your life, opposition attempts to create discouragement. Because discouragement is the fastest way to make someone abandon their position. You were not just waiting. You were contending. The intensity you felt was proof that something significant was at stake. The closer you moved toward your new season, the more pressure you experienced. And many times, you interpreted that pressure as a sign that something was wrong. But in reality, it was a sign that something was about to go right. The enemy does not attack what he already owns. He resists what he fears losing. There were moments when you almost convinced yourself to settle. Moments when you thought, maybe this is just my portion. Maybe I should stop expecting more. That thought was not from God. That was the echo of resistance trying to shrink your expectation. Because if your expectation decreases, your preparation slows. And if your preparation slows, you may not recognize the miracle when it appears. But here is the truth. The battle could delay you, but it could not deny you. It could test you, but it could not terminate the promise over your life. It could create noise, but it could not cancel what heaven scheduled. God allowed the resistance, not to destroy you, but to develop discernment within you. You learned how to pray differently. You learned how to guard your peace. You learned who truly stands with you and who only stands near you. Opposition has a way of revealing loyalty. It exposes foundations. It shows you where your faith is anchored. And every time you chose to keep believing, even when the evidence was thin, you were strengthening your spiritual authority. The battle did not make you weaker. It made you sharper. Think back to the nights when sleep was difficult because your mind was racing. The moments when you felt misunderstood. The times when doors closed without explanation. Those were not random hardships. They were attempts to frustrate you into surrendering your expectation. Because if you had lowered your hope, you might have missed tonight's appointment. The battle also intensified because timing matters. When something is far away, resistance is lighter. But when the breakthrough is near, resistance becomes desperate. Desperation produces noise. It produces chaos. It produces sudden distractions. That is why the last stretch of your waiting season felt louder than the beginning. You were approaching 11:57 p.m., even if you did not know it. But here is what resistance underestimated: your endurance. You may have cried, but you did not quit. You may have questioned, but you did not completely walk away. You may have felt tired, but something inside you refused to let go of hope. That something was not random strength. It was grace. It was divine reinforcement. While the battle tried to drain you, heaven was sustaining you. And now, as God declares that your waiting season is officially over, understand this clearly: the battle has lost its leverage. It cannot delay what has reached its appointed time. When heaven says now, opposition must step aside. The same pressure that tried to crush you is about to become the platform that elevates you. Sometimes God allows you to see the intensity of the fight so that when the victory arrives, you recognize its value. You will not take this next season for granted because you know what it cost you emotionally. You know the tears attached to it. You know the nights of uncertainty. And that awareness will make you protect what is coming. There is also another layer to this battle. It was not only about stopping you. It was about shaping you into someone who can handle influence, favor, and responsibility without losing humility. Pressure reveals character. And your character was being forged in places nobody else could see. So if you ever wondered why the delay felt like warfare instead of simple waiting, this is why. You were moving towards something that required opposition to test its strength. But testing is not failure. Testing is validation. And you passed. The resistance that tried to block your path has reached its limit. The discouragement that whispered you should give up has lost authority. The cycle of all those breakthroughs is breaking. What was meant to intimidate you has instead prepared you. And as you step into the next part of this message, you will understand what kind of miracle is scheduled for tonight, and why the battle fought so hard to stop it. And now we come to the heart of this prophetic announcement. A miracle is scheduled for tonight. Not randomly, not vaguely, scheduled. That word carries intention. It carries precision. It carries divine order. When something is scheduled, it means it has been placed on a calendar beyond your sight. It means heaven has marked a moment with your name on it. But what kind of miracle are we talking about? For some of you, this miracle will begin as a sudden shift in circumstances. A phone call you did not expect. An email that changes direction. A door that reopens after being shut for months. A financial breakthrough that arrives at the exact moment you felt stretched beyond capacity. For others, the miracle will not start outside of you. It will start within you. A heaviness lifting. Anxiety loosening its grip. Peace settling into your spirit without explanation. Restoration beginning quietly in a relationship that seemed too damaged to repair. Miracles do not always announce themselves with noise. Sometimes they arrive like a whisper that rearranges everything. There are also those who will experience clarity tonight. Decisions that felt confusing will suddenly become simple. You will know what to say yes to and what to walk away from. Direction will replace doubt. Confidence will replace hesitation. That clarity is a miracle. Because when God removes confusion, He removes the fog that kept you standing still. And for some, this miracle will involve healing. Healing in the body. Healing in the heart. Healing from betrayal, disappointment, or long seasons of feeling overlooked. The pain that defined your recent months will begin to lose its power over you. You will feel strength returning, hope rising, being expanding again. That is not imagination. That is restoration. But here is what makes this miracle unique. It is aligned with timing. This is not just about what happens. It is about when it happens. When a miracle is scheduled, it means all necessary components have reached readiness. The preparation we spoke about earlier has matured. The battle we exposed has lost its grip. The prophetic clock has reached its final minutes before midnight. And now, release becomes possible. You may be asking, will I see it instantly at 11:57 p.m.? For some, the manifestation may be immediate. For others, tonight marks the spiritual release, even if the physical evidence unfolds over the coming hours or days. Think of it like a legal document being signed. Once it is signed, the decision is final, even if the paperwork takes time to process. Tonight, something is being signed in the spiritual realm concerning you. There are blessings that have been pending approval. There are answers that have been awaiting alignment. There are doors that required the right key at the right time. And tonight, heaven is turning that key. You may not hear thunder. You may not see lightning. But you will sense a shift. Something will feel different. A weight you carried for months will no longer feel as heavy. An expectation will rise in you that feels stronger than fear. That is how many miracles begin, with internal confirmation before external validation. It is also important to understand that miracles are not always about gaining something new. Sometimes they are about recovering what was lost, opportunities returning, joy rediscovered, confidence restored, peace reclaimed. The enemy tried to steal your momentum during your waiting season. But tonight, momentum is being restored. Imagine waking up tomorrow and realizing the cycle has broken. The pattern of delay has ended. The same situation that refused to move suddenly shows signs of progress. The same people who overlooked you begin to recognize your value. The same door that seemed sealed begins to open. That is what happens when divine timing intersects with prepared hearts. And here is something powerful. This miracle is not just about relief. It is about redirection. God is not only removing frustration, He is repositioning you. The waiting season confined you to a place of endurance. The miracle will move you into a place of influence. It will shift your narrative from still waiting to now walking. Do not minimize what God can do in one night. History has been changed in single evenings. Decisions have been made in hours that altered lifetimes. Healing has occurred in moments that medicine could not explain. Reconciliation has happened after years of silence. One night is enough when God is involved. The phrase scheduled for tonight also means this is not dependent on your perfection. It is dependent on God's promise. You do not have to earn it in the next few hours. You do not have to prove yourself again. The preparation season already did its work. The battle already tested your endurance. The clock has already counted down. Now it is time for release. As you approach 11:57 p.m., do not approach it with fear. Approach it with expectancy. Prepare your heart in gratitude. Speak life over your situation. Declare that your waiting season is officially over. Position yourself spiritually for what is being activated. Because when heaven schedules something, it does not forget. When God marks a moment, it does not get canceled. And tonight carries a marking over your life. A miracle may begin quietly. It may begin boldly. But it will begin. And when it does, you will look back at this message and realize that this was not exaggeration. This was announcement. Tonight is not ordinary. It is appointed. Not every message is for every person. But when a word is specifically aligned with your season, Something inside you recognizes it before your mind fully understands it. There is a resonance in your spirit, a quiet but undeniable pull that says, "Pay attention. This is yours." And if you are still here listening, there is a strong possibility that this announcement about your waiting season being over is not random. It is confirmation. One of the first signs that this word is for you is a deep exhaustion with delay. Not just frustration, but a holy dissatisfaction. You reached a point where you said internally, something has to shift. You were no longer willing to accept cycles that kept repeating. That internal shift was not rebellion. It was readiness. When you become spiritually restless with stagnation, it often means movement is near. Another sign is the sudden rise of hope in the middle of uncertainty. Nothing may have changed visibly in your circumstances, yet something inside you started to expect again. After months of protecting your heart from disappointment, you found yourself imagining possibility. You felt a flicker of anticipation that you could not logically explain. That flicker is not self-deception. It is alignment. Hope often rises before breakthrough arrives. You may also have experienced unusual confirmations recently. Repeated themes in conversations. Scriptures or messages that echo the same idea of suddenly or now. People speaking encouragement at the exact moment you felt weakest. Even small, subtle signs that feel personal to you. When heaven is preparing to shift your season, confirmation multiplies. It is as if God gently repeats himself until you realize he is speaking directly to you. Another powerful sign is separation. During your waiting season, certain relationships may have faded. Some connections that once felt strong suddenly became distant. At first, it felt like loss, but in reality, it was pruning. God will not bring you into a new season surrounded by people who are only assigned to your old one. The isolation you experienced was not abandonment. It was repositioning. When this word resonates, it often follows a season of necessary separation. You might also notice that the obstacles you faced recently felt unusually intense, almost as if everything was resisting your progress at once. Financial pressure, emotional strain, unexpected setbacks. The closer you got to this moment, the heavier it seemed. That intensity is not proof of failure. It is often evidence of proximity. Resistance increases when something valuable is near. There is also the sign of spiritual sensitivity. Perhaps your prayer life deepened during this waiting season. You began to sense things more clearly. Discernment sharpened. You became more aware of what drains you and what strengthens you. Growth that once felt slow now feels solid. You are not the same person you were at the beginning of this delay. The transformation is preparation meeting completion. Another confirmation is this. You felt led to click on this message without fully knowing why. Out of countless options, something guided you here. Maybe the title caught your attention. Maybe the urgency stirred curiosity. But deeper than curiosity, there was a pull. Divine alignment often works quietly. It positions you in the right place at the right time without dramatic signs. If you feel seen by these words, that is not coincidence. There is also a sign in your emotional response. If you felt tears well up unexpectedly, or your heart started beating faster when you heard your waiting season is officially over, that reaction matters. Your spirit often responds before your intellect processes. Sometimes the body reacts to truth before the mind can analyze it. Another sign is fatigue with the old version of yourself. You no longer fit in the mindset you once carried. Complaining feels foreign. Settling feels uncomfortable. You sense that you are standing at the edge of something new. Even if fear whispers, faith feels stronger. A tension between fear and faith is a sign that you are transitioning. And finally, one of the clearest confirmations is this: you have endured longer than you thought you could. When the waiting season began, you questioned whether you would make it through. Yet here you are, still believing, still listening, still standing. Endurance itself is evidence that grace was carrying you toward a specific moment. Lord, tonight, these signs are not meant to create hype. They are meant to bring clarity. God does not operate in confusion. When He declares that your waiting season is over, He often leaves fingerprints of confirmation along the path so you recognize His voice. If several of these signs resonate deeply with you, do not dismiss it. Do not talk yourself out of expectation. Do not minimize the stirring in your spirit. Alignment feels like recognition. It feels like something clicking into place. This word is not for the distracted. It is for the attentive. It is not for the casual listener. It is for the one who knows they have been in a prolonged season of preparation and feels the shift approaching. If that is you, then understand this clearly. You are not here by accident. You are here because your season is turning. And as we move forward, you will learn exactly what you must do before 11:57 p.m. to position yourself fully for what is being released. Now that you recognize the signs, now that you understand the battle and the timing, there is one more critical piece. Your posture before 11:57 p.m. matters. When a miracle is scheduled, preparation does not stop. It sharpens. These final moments are not for panic. They are for positioning. What you do before the clock reaches that prophetic minute can align your heart with what heaven is releasing. First, enter into intentional stillness. Not distraction, not noise. Stillness. The world is loud. The notifications compete for your attention. Thoughts race. But before 11:57 p.m., create a sacred pause. Even if it is just a few minutes, step away from chaos. Sit quietly. Breathe deeply. Invite God into your awareness in a focused way. Miracles are not attracted to frenzy. They are welcomed by faith-filled expectation. Second, release doubt deliberately. Doubt may try to whisper, "What if nothing happens?" That whisper is rooted in past disappointments. But tonight is not defined by yesterday's outcomes. Speak aloud if you must. I release fear. I release skepticism. I release the weight of past delays. There is power in verbal agreement. When you speak faith, you strengthen it. When you speak fear, you empower it. Choose carefully in these final minutes. Third, examine your heart for unforgiveness. This is important. Bitterness can block peace. Resentment can cloud clarity. If there is someone you need to forgive, even if they never apologized, make the decision now. Forgiveness does not excuse what happened. It frees you from carrying it. You do not step into a new season dragging old chains. Before 11:57 p.m., let go of what no longer belongs in your future. Fourth, declare gratitude before you see the evidence. This is a prophetic act. Thank God not only for what He has done, but for what He is about to do. Gratitude shifts your atmosphere. It moves you from desperation into confidence. It tells heaven, "I trust you." And trust is fertile ground for miracles. You should also guard your environment in these moments. Be mindful of what you watch, what you listen to, and who you engage with before this appointed time. Negativity is contagious. Doubt spreads quickly. Protect your peace. If possible, spend the final minutes in prayer, worship, or quiet reflection. You are not performing a ritual. You are aligning your focus. There is also power in writing something down before 11:57 p.m. Write a simple declaration. My waiting season is officially over. Did it? Mark it. This is not superstition. It is documentation of expectation. When the manifestation unfolds, you will look back and remember that you marked this moment in faith. Another key instruction: do not rush into the next hour with anxiety. Anticipation is healthy. Anxiety is not. There is a difference. Anticipation says, I trust that something good is unfolding. Anxiety says, I must control the outcome. You are not responsible for producing the miracle. You are responsible for positioning your heart. God handles the outcome. If possible, speak life over your home before 11:57 p.m. Pray over your family. Declare peace in your space. Declare provision over your finances. Declare healing over your body. Declare restoration over your relationships. Words carry weight. And tonight, your words should align with heaven's declaration that your waiting season is over. Also, resist the temptation to overanalyze. You do not need to calculate how the miracle will happen. You do not need to map out the process. Miracles often unfold in ways that exceed logic. Your responsibility is not to understand every detail. It is to remain open. And here is something deeply important. Check your humility. When the miracle manifests, pride must not follow. Before 11:57 p.m., remind yourself that everything good comes from God. Stay grounded. Stay grateful. Stay aware that this breakthrough is not about proving others wrong. It is about fulfilling what was promised. If you feel nervous, that is normal. Significant moments often carry emotional intensity. But do not confuse nervousness with danger. Sometimes your spirit recognizes that a threshold is near. You are stepping from one chapter into another, and transitions always feel significant. Finally, surrender control. Lift your hands if you can. Close your eyes. Say, God, I am ready. Not my timing, but yours. Not my way, but yours. That surrender is not weakness. It is alignment. It is trust in action. The clock will move whether you are ready or not. But tonight, you have been given the gift of awareness. You know the significance of 11:57 p.m. You understand the shift that is occurring. So use these moments wisely. Not in fear, not in pressure, but in faith. Because when the minute hand moves, you will not just be entering a new hour. You will be stepping into the beginning of what heaven has already scheduled. And your preparation now ensures that when it arrives, you will recognize it, receive it, and walk into it fully. There is a sacred stillness that happens right before heaven moves. It is not always loud. It is not always dramatic. But it is unmistakable. When the clock approaches that prophetic threshold, when 11:57 p.m. stands like a doorway between what was and what will be, something shifts in the atmosphere. Not because of superstition, not because of hype, but because divine timing has reached its appointed mark. The moment heaven moves, it does not ask for permission from your past. It does not consult your history of delays. It does not negotiate with the battles you face. When God declares that your waiting season is officially over, movement begins whether you fully comprehend it or not. Chains that were invisible begin to loosen. Obstacles that looked permanent begin to weaken. Conversations begin to align in rooms you have never entered. For some of you, the moment heaven moves will feel like a sudden release of pressure. The anxiety that has been sitting on your chest for months will lift without explanation. You will wake up and realize the heaviness is gone. The fear that once dominated your thoughts will lose its authority. Peace will settle in quietly but powerfully. That is movement. For others, the moment heaven moves will manifest externally. A message will arrive. An opportunity will surface. A door that seemed sealed will open with unexpected ease. What felt complicated will subtly become simple. What felt blocked will begin to flow. And you will look back and realize that the shift did not require struggle. It required timing. Heaven's movement is often sudden, but it is never unprepared. Everything that needed to align has aligned. Every lesson that needed to be learned has been absorbed. Every test that needed to refine you has completed its assignment. A weighing season with not wasted, it with a runway. And now the takeoff begins. You might have expected fireworks, but sometimes heaven moves like wind. You cannot see it directly, but you see its effect. Leaves begin to shift. Doors begin to move. Atmospheres begin to change. That is how miracles often unfold. Subtle at first, and undeniable. There is also something important about this moment. When heaven moves, it restores more than you asked for. It does not just answer the prayer, it redeems the delay. It compensates for the tears. It strengthens the areas where you felt weak. The same season that tried to drain you will now testify to your resilience. Do not be surprised if emotion rises unexpectedly. Tears may come, not from sadness but from relief, from realization, from the understanding that you were never forgotten. That all along, God was orchestrating something precise and intentional. And here is the truth that many overlook. The moment heaven moves is also the moment your identity shifts. You are no longer the one who hath been waiting. You become the one who has witnessed. Your language changes. Your posture changes. Your confidence deepens, not because of arrogance, but because of evidence. You have seen what God can do. But listen carefully. What happens after the movement is just as important as the movement itself. A miracle is the doorway, not the destination. A shift is the beginning, not the conclusion. You'll be glad you stayed for what's about to be revealed next, because what follows this movement determines how long you remain in this new season. Now, before we go further, I want you to seal this moment with faith. Type IT is happening in the comments if you believe. Blessing code 922 is now activated. This is not about hype. It is about agreement. When you declare it, you align your voice with heaven's announcement. And as this movement unfolds, remember this: you are not just a spectator. You are a participant. The same God who scheduled this miracle invites you to steward it well. What heaven initiates, you must protect. What God releases, you must honor. As we stand in this prophetic moment, there is also a greater movement happening beyond your personal breakthrough. This message is reaching thousands who are standing at their own 11:57 p.m. When you sow into this mission through Super Thanks, membership, or PayPal, the link is in the description, and the PayPal QR code may be appearing on your screen. You become part of heaven's movement in someone else's life. Scripture declares, "Cast your bread upon the waters, for you will find it after many days." And this is God inviting you into a harvest that extends beyond your own need. I sense this strongly. Your obedience and giving tonight can unlock courage in someone who almost gave up before their miracle. Do not miss the prophetic urgency of this moment. As you sow, may rivers of provision flow back into your household, and may the same God who moves for you multiply what you release. Step forward in faith and give as the Spirit leads. Activate the flow now. The moment heaven moves is not just about receiving. It is about becoming a witness. And what you are stepping into now will echo far beyond this night. When a miracle arrives, the story does not end, it begins. Many people know how to pray for a breakthrough, but few know how to protect one. Now that heaven has moved, now that your waiting season is officially over, you must understand something critical. What God releases must be guarded with wisdom. The same resistance that tried to delay you may attempt to distract you, not to steal the miracle outright, but to cause carelessness. Breakthrough requires stewardship. If you prayed for peace, you must now protect your atmosphere. If you prayed for opportunity, you must now manage it with integrity. If you prayed for restoration, you must now nurture it with patience. Guarding your miracle begins with gratitude. Gratitude is spiritual protection. When you consistently thank God for what He has done, pride cannot take root. Entitlement cannot grow. Gratitude keeps your heart soft and aware. It reminds you that this breakthrough is not self-produced. It is grace released at the right time. Be careful who you share every detail with. Not everyone celebrated you in the waiting season. Not everyone will understand your new season. Some people are comfortable with the version of you that struggled. They may feel unsettled when they see you rising. This does not mean you become secretive or fearful. It means you become discerning. Protect what is sacred. Another way to guard your miracle is to maintain the disciplines you developed during the delay. Do not abandon prayer now that the pressure has lifted. Do not neglect stillness now that clarity has arrived. The habits that carried you through the waiting season are the same habits that will sustain you in the blessing. Success without discipline leads back to instability. There is also a temptation that follows breakthrough: overextension. When doors open, you may feel pressure to say yes to everything. But just because you cannot mean you should. Guard your energy. Guard your focus. Guard your peace. A miracle is not an invitation to chaos. It is an invitation to intentional living. And remember this: opposition may test the edges of your new season, not with the same intensity as before, but with subtle attempts to reintroduce doubt. A small setback, a minor disagreement, an unexpected challenge. Do not interpret these as signs that the miracle has reversed. Growth often includes adjustment. Stay grounded. Stay confident in what God has already declared. You must also guard your words. Do not speak fear over what God has blessed. Do not rehearse worst-case scenarios. Do not diminish what has happened by saying, "It probably won't last." Life and death are in the power of the tongue. Speak stability. Speak increase. Speak longevity over your breakthrough. There will be moments when you are tempted to return to old mental patterns. The mindset of waiting can linger even after the season has ended. You might find yourself bracing for disappointment out of habit, but you are no longer in that chapter. When those thoughts arise, gently but firmly remind yourself, "My waiting season is officially over." Train your mind to live in the new reality. Guarding your miracle also means staying humble. Elevation should deepen gratitude, not inflate ego. The higher you rise, the more grounded you must become. Humility keeps you teachable. It keeps you aligned. It ensures that the blessing does not become a burden. And as your breakthrough becomes visible, let your testimony encourage others. Share wisely, but share boldly when appropriate. Your story may become someone else's confirmation that their 11:57 p.m. is approaching. This is how miracles multiply, through witness. If this message is strengthening you right now, take a moment to engage. Like this video as a declaration that you will protect what God has released. Subscribe so you can continue receiving prophetic guidance for this new season. Share this message with someone who needs to understand that breakthrough requires stewardship. And in the comments, write a brief testimony or even a simple statement of faith about what God has done or is doing. Your voice carries power. Here is your retention reminder. What comes next will help you navigate the moments when the shift feels invisible, when you do not immediately see physical evidence but must stand firm anyway. That insight may be the key to sustaining everything you have just received. Guard your miracle with wisdom. Protect it with gratitude. Sustain it with discipline. Anchor it with humility. And remember, this breakthrough is not fragile. It is divinely appointed. As long as you remain aligned, what God has started will continue to unfold. Your waiting season is over. And now you walk as someone entrusted with evidence. There is something no one talks about enough. Sometimes the shift happens before you can see it. Sometimes the miracle is released in the spiritual realm, but the physical evidence takes time to catch up. And if you are not prepared for that possibility, you may misinterpret silence as absence. When God says your waiting season is officially over, it does not always mean fireworks the next morning. It means the legal transaction in the spirit has been completed. It means the decision has been made. It means the door has been unlocked, even if you have not yet turned the handle. This is where maturity matters. There may be moments after 11:57 p.m. when you look around and think, everything looks the same. The bills are still there. The inbox is still quiet. The situation still appears urgent. But appearance is not authority. What you see in the natural is often the last thing to abate. The spiritual shift precedes the visible manifestation. Think of a seed planted in the ground. For days, even weeks, it looks like nothing is happening. But underground, roots are forming. Systems are developing. Life is pushing upward in ways you cannot measure. If someone judged the seed too early, they would call it dead. But the farmer knows better. The farmer understands process. Right now, you must think like a farmer, not a spectator. If the shift feels invisible, it does not mean it is unreal. It means it is unfolding. And unfolding requires patience paired with faith. Patience alone can turn into passivity. Faith alone without patience can turn into frustration. But when patience and faith work together, they create stability. You must resist the urge to dig up what God has planted just to check if it is growing. Constantly searching for signs can lead to anxiety. Instead, stand on the word that was spoken. Your waiting season is officially over. That declaration did not come with conditions. It came with authority. Here is also something powerful about invisible shifts. They test your trust. Anyone can celebrate when results are obvious. But can you remain confident when progress is subtle? Can you hold on to peace when circumstances look unchanged? That is where your growth during the waiting season becomes essential. Remember who you were at the beginning of this delay. You were more reactive, more anxious, more shaken by small setbacks. But now, you are stronger. You have endured too much to collapse at the first sign of silence. The waiting season built endurance into your spirit. And endurance is what carries you through invisible transitions. Another truth you must hold on to is this: just because you cannot see movement does not mean others cannot. There may be conversations happening about you right now, opportunities being discussed, doors being prepared, hearts being softened, contracts being drafted, solutions being arranged. Heaven works behind the curtain before it reveals the stage. If you demand instant proof, you may miss gradual evidence. Sometimes the miracle unfolds in layers. First, your mindset shifts. Then your atmosphere changes. Then small confirmations appear. Then suddenly, what was once invisible becomes undeniable. Do not despise small signs of progress. A slight improvement in your mood. A new idea forming in your mind. A subtle sense of direction. These are indicators that the shift has begun. They are whispers before the announcement. And here's something deeply important. Do not let impatience sabotage what patience is building. The enemy cannot cancel your miracle, but he may try to provoke you into discouragement. If you interpret every quiet moment as failure, you create emotional instability. But if you interpret quiet as incubation, you create resilience. When the shift feels invisible, return to gratitude. Thank God not only for what you see, but for what you trust is happening. Gratitude keeps your perspective aligned. It reminds you that your faith is not dependent on constant stimulation. Also, avoid comparing your timeline to someone else's. Their manifestation may look dramatic and immediate. Yours may look strategic and progressive. Comparison distorts perception. God customizes miracles. He does not mass-produce them. If you wake up tomorrow and everything looks the same, do not panic. Stand firm. Speak life. Continue your discipline. Continue your focus. Continue guarding your miracle as if it is already visible, because in the Spirit, it is. And understand this clearly. Invisible does not mean inactive. Quiet does not mean cancel. Delayed evidence does not mean reverse declaration. The shift has occurred. Now you allow it to unfold without forcing it. Your waiting season is over. Even if the physical signs take time to surface, the spiritual verdict had been issued. The door is unlocked. The seed is planted. The process is in motion. And as we move forward, you will begin to understand what your new season requires from you, and how to step fully into it without shrinking back into old patterns. There comes a moment when you must stop identifying with the season that shaped you and start embracing the season that is calling you. Your waiting season is officially over. That is not just a statement about circumstances. It is a statement about identity. You are no longer the person who is stuck in delay. You are stepping into the person who walks in fulfillment. New seasons require new mindsets. If you continue thinking like someone who is waiting, you will hesitate when you should move. You will shrink when you should step forward. You will question when you should declare. But this is not the hour for shrinking. This is the hour for alignment. The version of you that survived the waiting season was built for endurance. The version of you stepping into this new season is built for expansion. Expansion can feel unfamiliar at first. When doors begin to open, when clarity increases, when opportunities align, there may be a part of you that feels unworthy. You may hear thoughts like, "Is this really for me?" Or "What if I cannot handle this?" That voice is the echo of your old season. It is the residue of delay. But residue does not define you. You were prepared for this. The strength you developed during your waiting was not just for survival. It was for stewardship. You learned patience so you could handle influence without rushing. You learned humility so you could carry favor without pride. You learned resilience so you could withstand pressure without breaking. Everything you endured was training for what you are now entering. This new season will require courage. Not the loud, dramatic kind, but the quiet, consistent kind. The courage to say yes when fear suggests hesitation. The courage to trust the open door instead of looking for hidden traps. The courage to believe that God would not bring you this far just to withdraw His hand. There will also be new relationships in this season. Some people will enter your life with fresh alignment. Conversations will feel different. Support will feel more genuine. Do not cling to expired connections out of familiarity. Every season has its assigned voices. Be open to the new while honoring what the old taught you. In this new chapter, your voice will carry more weight. Your testimony will have impact. The story of how you endured delay will become a source of hope for someone else. You will not just celebrate privately, you will inspire publicly. And that is part of the purpose. Your waiting was never just about you. It was about the influence your breakthrough would create. There may also be increased responsibility. Blessings often come with assignments. Opportunities come with expectations. But do not let responsibility intimidate you. The same God who sustained you in delay will empower you in elevation. You are not stepping into this alone. One of the most important things to remember in your new season is this: do not romanticize the struggle. Sometimes, after long waiting, people subconsciously cling to the identity of the underdog. They become comfortable with being overlooked. But that identity no longer fits you. You are not overlooked. You are appointed. Step into rooms without apologizing for your presence. Speak with clarity. Make decisions with confidence. Trust that if God opened the door, you belong there. You do not have to diminish yourself to make others comfortable. You do not have to pretend you are still in delay to avoid standing out. At the same time, remain grounded. Stay rooted in prayer. Stay anchored in gratitude. Stay connected to the disciplines that carried you through the storm. Elevation without grounding creates instability, but elevation with humility creates longevity. This new season will not be perfect. There will still be challenges. Growth always includes learning curves. What the difference now is that you are not fighting for movement. You are managing momentum. You are not praying for doors to open. You are walking through them. You are not asking if your time will come. You are living in it. And perhaps the most beautiful part of this new season is peace. Not because everything is flawless, but because you know you are aligned. The anxiety that once haunted you has lost its grip. The fear of what if had been replaced with confidence in even if challenges arise, you have seen God move. Even if obstacles appear, you have experienced His timing. Your new season begins not with noise, but with assurance. Not with chaos, but with clarity. Not with desperation, but with direction. You are no longer counting down to 11:57 p.m. You are living beyond it. The threshold has been crossed. The announcement has been fulfilled. The waiting has ended. And as you prepare to hear the final declaration in this message, understand this. What began as a whisper of hope has now become a season of manifestation. You are not who you were. You are who you were becoming all along. Tonight is not just another night. It is a marker, a line drawn between what was and what will be. God says, your waiting season is officially over. And when God makes an official declaration, it carries authority that no force can overturn. This is not emotional excitement. This is divine conclusion. The chapter of delay has closed. You have walked through uncertainty. You have endured silence. You have wrestled with questions that had no immediate answers. But through it all, you did not completely let go. Even when your faith felt fragile, it was still present. Even when your strength felt thin, it was still enough. And that is why this ending is so powerful. Because it proves that endurance was not wasted. Tonight marks the end of striving without seeing. The end of praying without perceiving movement. The end of wondering if your moment would ever arrive. The clock has shifted. The atmosphere has shifted. And you have shifted. This closing declaration is not simply about receiving a miracle. It is about stepping into alignment with what heaven has already authorized. Your waiting season did not end because you forced it to. It ended because its purpose was fulfilled. The lessons were learned. The character was formed. The preparation was completed. Now you stand in a new reality. You are no longer defined by what has not happened. You are defined by what God has spoken. You are not labeled by delay. You are marked by destiny. And destiny does not expire because of hardship. It matures through it. As you move forward from this night, carry confidence in your spirit. Not arrogance, not entitlement, but deep, settled assurance. The same God who brought you through the waiting will guide you through the fulfillment. The same hand that sustained you in silence will sustain you in success. There may still be moments when you reflect on how long it took, but do not allow memory to become regret. Everything unfolded at the appointed time. If it had happened sooner, you might not have been ready. If it had happened differently, it might not have carried the same depth. Timing protected you more than you realize. And now, peace replaces pressure. Expectation replaces exhaustion. Vision replaces confusion. You are not walking into chaos, you are walking into clarity. Let this be your declaration moving forward. I trust the God who schedules miracles. I trust the God who ends seasons with precision. I trust the God who turns delay into testimony. Tonight is a spiritual landmark in your life. You may not see every detail immediately, but you will sense the difference. Something has settled. Something has aligned. Something has been finalized in your favor. Do not go back mentally to the season that tried to hold you. Do not rehearse the pain more than the promise. Do not shrink to fit a chapter that has already closed. Lift your head. Straighten your posture. Speak with renewed authority over your life. You are stepping into answered prayers. You are stepping into restored momentum. You are stepping into divine timing that cannot be reversed. And as this message comes to its close, receive this final assurance. You were never forgotten. Not for a single day. Not for a single tear. Every moment of waiting was recorded. Every prayer was heard. Every sigh was understood. And now, heaven has responded. Type I receive my miracle in the comments. Blessing code 305 is now activated. Let this be your seal of agreement with what God has declared over your life. As this word settles in your spirit, understand that this mission continues because lives are standing at their own 11:57 p.m., waiting for hope. When you sow through Super Thanks, membership, or PayPal, the link is in the description, and the PayPal QR code may be on your screen. You are planting seeds that become light in someone else's darkness. God says, "Those who sow in tears shall reap in joy." And this is not distant scripture. It is a living promise over you. I invite you personally in this moment. Let your gratitude become a seed. Do not delay obedience when heaven stirs your heart. As you give, may open heavens respond over your finances, your family, and your future. Step forward now and sow into the harvest of souls. Your waiting season is officially over. The declaration has been made. The shift has occurred. And the God who scheduled your miracle is faithful to complete what He has begun.